to introduce Lou Esposito, Director of Marketing of the Triangle Red Cross. And as I mentioned, they are partnering. We do a lot of partnering with the American Red Cross, and she's going to come up and share with us the impact that the American Red Cross has had. Welcome, Lou. Your mic.
I have a, oh, it's on. It's magic. It really did work. That's awesome. Thanks so much for having me today and for letting me come and talk to you a little bit. They sandwiched me between two very dynamic and powerful speakers, so I'm going to try not to put anybody to sleep. In order to do that, I think I'm going to just tell you a few stories about what it's like to be with the Red Cross and what it's like to be what we call a Red Crosser. So we'll go back a few months. In January and February of this year, we saw at the Red Cross what was some of our most active fire season, and we actually responded to more single-family fires this past January, February, and March than we have in quite a few years, and we were 60% above our budget, I think, when that happened. So let me just explain a little bit about what that means. We have teams of volunteers at the American Red Cross. I used to be one. It's how I started with this chapter, and we would carry a pager. And when a family in the Triangle has a house fire and can't stay in their home, the fire chief will call back to emergency services, and emergency services will page the Red Cross. So that team at that point, when they get that page, they get up out of their bed, and these are working people who have full-time jobs, just like the rest of us do, but they carry that pager. They've made a commitment to the Red Cross. That pager goes off, they get out of bed no matter what time it is. It could be 3 a.m., it could be 5 a.m. They get out of bed, they come to the chapter, and they get their response equipment, and they go to the fire and make sure that the family that was living in that home that's just burned down has a place to stay for the night, for the next few nights, and then our caseworkers work with those people to make sure that they have a place to stay for the long term and that they recover from that fire. So we spent the end of our winter and the first part of our spring responding to more fires than we usually get. Sometime in March, they pulled me out of the response and they sent me to Tampa and said, "We're not real sure why, but we think you might need some national media training. So we're going to send you to Tampa to get some national media training." I said, "Sure, whatever, I'll probably never use it." So I get back to Raleigh about mid-March, and the fires are still happening like crazy, and I got to practice with our local media a little bit, get out, do some interviews with some multi-unit fires, some of the larger fires that we've had here in the past couple years, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with media interviews than usual. And then one Friday afternoon, April 15th, I got an alert from my weatherman, our Red Cross weatherman, that says, "Keep an eye on the storms this weekend because they're going to be pretty bad." So Saturday morning, I'm not real sure why, I woke up and I started getting all of my business in order. And about 3 o'clock, I got another alert from my weatherman that said, "Here it comes, get ready." And so at that point, I start packing my stuff and getting my go kit all together and making sure I have everything ready to go. And turned on WRAL, and they have the tornado that's headed our way on camera, and they're showing live pictures of it on WRAL. And I'm looking out my window as it's coming across 401, and I see the cloud, and I turned around and I looked at my television and I see the picture of the tornado, and I'm like, really, this is surreal. I can't believe this is happening. And so the tornado came through and waited for everything to kind of quiet down. My phone is still working, and I called my partner in emergency services, our director of emergency services, Daniel Ean. And he picked up his phone, he said hello, and I could tell he was in his car. I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm pulling up at the chapter right now." And that's how long it takes us to get going when something like that happens. The reason that I'm telling you this is if it weren't for all of you and the support that you show us right now, in the future and in the past, none of us would ever be ready to do this. There would be no media training in Tampa. there would be no director of emergency services to be at the chapter by the time I could get him on the phone after the tornado has happened. So that day, within 2.5 to 3 hours, we had 3 shelters open in the Raleigh area. By the end of that day, there were almost 30 shelters open in North Carolina for those 29 storms that had come through that day. And I don't know if everybody realizes what a record-breaking storm that was for North Carolina, but I can tell you we're really, really glad that we don't have one like that every year. So we got through that. We're Tar Heels. That's what we do, right? We pull together and we get through it together. So we got through that storm. And the spring goes on, and they just keep happening and keep happening. So in the first 48 hours of the storm we had here, a team of my friends from our national media team that I had just seen in Tampa 6 weeks before, 4 of them show up at my doorstep to help me, because that's the organization that we have. We're a network of chapters, and all of these people work in other chapters somewhere else in the country. But the 2 days after the tornadoes came through Raleigh, 9 o'clock that morning, they're sitting in my chapter with me to help us respond and help Raleigh recover. 6 weeks down the road, and another EF5 has gone through Tuscaloosa in the spring, and another EF5 tornado went through Joplin, Missouri. Shortly after, at this point, we've all worked an operation at home, and most of us have worked an operation away from home as well. So we've either been in an affected chapter, or we've been to an affected chapter to help out. So the calls came from national headquarters for people who, in my position in public affairs, to go to Joplin to help. I waited 24 hours thinking surely there's somebody else out there that can go work this, and it doesn't have to be me. I waited 24 hours and the call came again. We still need people to go. The faster you can be there, the better. And so I answered that call to say I can be there by in the morning. They took me up on it. I thought, yeah, they'll have somebody else by the time they get to my email, surely. But they took me up on it, and 24 hours later, I was sitting in headquarters in Joplin, Missouri, working that tornado as well. I tell you these stories only to illustrate to you what the Red Cross is and what the Red Cross does. The Red Cross is a network of chapters, which are people like me and Kate and Donna Rohde and Janet Kennedy back here, who volunteers for us as well, and any other Red Cross volunteers in the room. Yay, I see some back there. All of these people, that's what a chapter is. We're people. The Red Cross is a network of chapters. So when a disaster happens in Raleigh, Red Crossers from all over the country come here to help, and we literally have them from California, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Philly, everywhere. That's what the Red Cross is, and that's what the Red Cross does. A shelter is open within 2 to 3 hours of a disaster so that people have a safe place to stay. One of the beautiful things that happened in Joplin, the Red Cross shelter had been open for several days, and it was several days after that tornado, and there was a tornado warning again. The shelter population that night doubled. So as many people who had lost their homes and were staying in that shelter were afraid to stay in their homes and came to stay overnight in the shelter because they felt like it was a safe place to be. That's what the Red Cross is. We're a safe place to be and a meal when you need it the most. This spring, we've served 3 million meals and snacks to people affected by storms, wildfires, and 63,000 overnight stays in Red Cross shelters. Now, right here in the Triangle, every single day of the year, we respond to another house fire. Our volunteers in the Raleigh area and the Triangle respond to 500 disasters every year. That's more than one a day, and that's just in the Triangle. The Triangle chapter, through blood donations, disaster services, or military services, touches 1 in every 10 people in the Triangle every year. And that's what the Red Cross is.